Hello everyone, and today we are back for another top 5 video, and we're going to be ranking all of the Gargolem forms from worst to best. There are only 4 Gargolem forms in the entire game, and we're going to be ranking them based on how good they are in PvP. So with that out of the way, let's head right onto this list. So, the worst Gargolem form in the entire game is Gargolem Base. No surprises here. Gargolem Base is by far the worst Gargolem form in the game. And honestly, it is a bottom 3 roamer as well. And the thing is with Gargolem form is that it actually has stuff. Every Gargolem form has amazing coverage, hits decently hard, and has good support options. Like, that's something every Gargolem form has. The problem is with Gargolem Base, though, it's too balanced, and it's not too balanced in a good way. It hits hard, but Gargolem Attack form hits harder. It's fast, but Gargolem Speed is faster, and it has good bulk, but Gargolem Defense form has more bulk. So, if you want to use the Gargolem in a specific way, why not just use the other 3 forms? Not to mention that Gargolem Base is just generic. It isn't the best thing in the world. It's not bad. It definitely has some stuff. And even though I call this a bottom 3 roamer, it could probably get more KOs than all of the bottom 5 roamers. So it's not a bottom 3 roamer because it's bad. It's a bottom 3 roamer is because there are so many Lumions that can replace it. In fact, all of the Gargolem forms replace Gargolem Base. And that's why Gargolem Base is the worst of the Gargolem forms. Number 3 onto this list is going to be the Gargolem Speed form. Now, the Gargolem Speed form is miles better than the Gargolem Base. This thing is the fastest speed stat in the entire game with 155 speed, and it actually has better defense stats than the Gargolem Base form. It still hits decently hard as well, with 85 attacks on both sides. And, of course, it has Return to Sender Clutch Plushie, which is probably my favorite tech set to run on this Gargolem form. Yes, you could technically run this on the Gargolem Attack form as well, but if you do that on the Attack form, you do lose a precious coverage move, so it is a risk. But for Speed form, it isn't so much, so you can use it to its fullest potential. Not to mention, you have Barbs, you have Empathize, you have Icicle Traps, you have Slapdown. You're the fastest Lumion in the game with those moves. You're also the fastest Driving Force Lumion in the entire game as well. So if you want a Driving Force with opposing Driving Force Lumion, you will always go first, which is awesome. Now, there are some things that do hold it back. I do think the other 2 Gargolem forms in the top 2 spots are a little bit more usable than the Gargolem Speed. But even then, Gargolem Speed is one of the best leads in the entire game, and that's why it deserves number 3 on the list. Number 2 onto this list, and it's really close, it's Gargolem Attack form. Gargolem Attack form is awesome. It's one of the best late game cleaners in the entire game. It has amazing coverage. The master ability is amazing. And it has the best melee and ranged attack in the entire game. And just like Gargolem Base, this also has a very good speed stat of 105. And if you combine this with the wind weather, this thing can outspeed a nimble Protagon, which is awesome. And even if you don't have the wind, it still has 105 speed, and it can be utilized really well. And if you can get a master boost, it could sweep teams easily. I'm serious. There are not many walls for Gargolem Attack form once you get one master boost. You could pretty much drive by teams. And since you have attacks on both sides, you could run Earthquake, you could run Landslide, you could run Nosedive, you could run Jetstream, you could hit ranged tanks and melee tanks on the same Gargolem, which is kind of crazy. This Lumion can hit anything in the entire game really hard. And that's what makes Gargolem Attack form amazing. It's the best late game cleaner in the entire game, and it's probably one of the best wall breakers in the game as well. It does fall short to the number 1 Lumion, but only by a little bit. This Lumion is still absolutely amazing. The best Gargolem form in the entire game is Gargolem Defense form. If you guys watch my list on talking about the top 5 Haunted Village Lumions, I put a Gargolem Attack at number 2, and I put a Gargolem Defense at number 1. It's still the same. Gargolem Defense is awesome, and it's definitely the best Gargolem form in the game. Doesn't quite hit as hard as the attack forms, and heck, it even has the slowest speed stat. But what it makes up in is its bulk. It has the highest melee and range defense in the entire game. And yes, it does have a low health stat, but it doesn't matter when you put health TPs into your health. Not to mention, you have barbs and icicle traps with driving spores. And with a Lumion as bulky as Gargolem Defense, you could utilize that to its fullest potential and be super annoying. You can place icicle traps to stop other Gargolems. You can use Mudslide to get rid of barbs, Slapdown to get rid of items, and even though this thing doesn't have a healing move, this thing has Empathize, meaning that if you use Empathize while you're low, you could steal health back from the opposing Lumion, which is awesome. There's so much to love about Gargolem Defense form, and it's amazing. The only flaw about this is mainly it being quad weak to icicle traps and being quad weak to ice altogether, which for a defensive Lumion like this, it does suck. But despite that, it does good in every other area. And that's why Gargolem Defense form is number 1 on the list. And here it is. Gargolem Defense form is the best Gargolem form in the entire game. But honestly, all of the Gargolem forms, besides its base form, are awesome in their own ways. And they can all be slapped onto a team and do amazingly. I hope you guys enjoyed this list of me ranking all of the Gargolem forms. And I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!